Let me start with a disclaimer. If you typically do a lot of cardstock projects, this is going to make you cringe, okay? Because I have done a lot of things in this tutorial that are unconventional for those of you who use cardstock a lot. I am not one of them. But I did do what? Give it the what? Good old college try. I did the very best that I could. I got through the project. Now it's a struggle, and you will see the struggle as I go. But I do want to forewarn you because I don't want you to be surprised. This might make you cringe. This might make you unsubscribe, unfollow, unlike, thumb down. And I won't be offended because I would probably give it 2 thumbs down myself. Hello everyone and welcome to Cricketing with Delonda. It's me again, Delonda, and thank you so much for joining me today. In today's tutorial, we are making a mandala. And I practiced saying that word on Google multiple times because I wanted to make sure I was saying it right. And if I didn't say it right this time, please forgive me. Now, I am not a person who is above learning. So as you go along and you are taking a risk to watch this tutorial, I don't mind if you share tips and tricks with me along the way regarding how to work with cardstock and how to apply adhesive. But also know I probably won't be using your tips because I don't plan to work with a lot of cardstock. I'm just being honest. To thine own self be true. Now, I did get finished with the project. This is my finished mandala. And I want to show you how I did it. I'm going to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. At the end of this tutorial, if you find this helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell for notifications because I do upload new content every single week. Now, without further ado, let's get started. The materials that I use for this project include my Cricut Maker with the fine point blade. I use my purple strong grip mat. I actually use multiple mats, but you'll be able to see that during the tutorial. The cardstock that I'm using is all Cricut brand. This package came in a mystery box. It is called the Sampler Holiday Package, and it comes with 4 sheets of red, 4 sheets of green. There's a cream color, and there are 12 sheets altogether. Then I also used these 2 sheets or these 2 colors of cardstock. These also came in a mystery box. This is the foil cardstock, also Cricut brand. The adhesive or the glue that I used is Eileen's Clear Gel Tacky Glue. You could also use the white or the clear. I was going to use the white, but I was afraid that it would show up on my cardstock, so I went with the clear. I used the spatula to clean off my mats, and I used a weeding tool. Now, the process that I use for applying the glue to the cardstock is by using a paintbrush. So I just used the thinnest paintbrush that I have, and hopefully you can see that. Let me kind of let you focus in on that. But this is the paintbrush that I used, and you'll see the process that I use to apply the adhesive. If you typically work with cardstock, you already have a process. This is for those of us who don't always use cardstock, me included. Okay, so now let's head on over to Design Bundles so that I can show you the file that I'm using. This is a free file from Design Bundles. It is linked below this video. And then we will head over to Cricut Design Space so that I can give you a few tips and tricks so that you can work this project out for yourself. Now, before we go over there, let me also say I believe, or I feel that it's important to kind of decide on the colors that you want to use before you get to Cricut Design Space so that you can kind of already have it figured out and laid out when you get to your layers panel. But I'll show you what I mean by that. The first thing I did was I went to the designbundles.net website, And I found a layered file that really just stuck out to me. I think it's very beautiful. I can look at this file and see that it has 7 layers, and I know that I want to use cardstock to make my version of this file. So what I did was I clicked on download free now, and once I did that, I noticed that there is a box, a zipped file that will show up on the bottom left of my screen. Now I am using a Windows operating system, so I'm not sure what this looks like on a Mac. Okay, so I'm going to click on that folder, and then I have the option to extract all. I'm going to click that because just clicking download doesn't put the file on your computer. The next thing I did was I went to browse, and instead of just extracting, I actually have folders that are being created on my desktop. So I have a design bundles folder, and what I did was I just created a folder for this file. So I'm going to do it again just to show you. So I'm going to call it exactly what it's called right here, which is a 3D layered. So I'm going to just type in 3D layered. I'm going to call it a mandala or mandala, however you pronounce it. I call it a mandala. If I'm saying it wrong, please forgive me. I'm going to click select, and then I'm going to extract it to that folder. Once it's in that folder, now it's actually saved on my computer. Once I double click in this folder, I can see that here is the SVG, the file that says Microsoft Edge. I can open this a little bit more. Microsoft Edge HTML document is the folder or the file that I'm looking to upload into Cricut Design Space. So now that I have it, what I'm going to do is upload it into Cricut Design Space. Now, if I look right here where it says JPEG file, this is a picture of the file. So I'll remember, or I'll know exactly what it's supposed to look like once it's all finished. Okay. And so it shows you, if I click over, I keep scrolling over, I can see all of the various layers of this file. Okay. So now let's head on over to Cricut Design Space. I am in Cricut Design Space, and the first thing I'm going to do is upload the file that I downloaded from Design Bundles. I'm going to add it to my canvas. Once it comes in, it is going to come in fairly big, and no worries there. What I typically do is reduce the view on my screen. Sometimes I'll go down to 50%, sometimes I'll even go down to 25%. It just depends on what I'm making. I can see from the layers panel that this file is bigger than Cricut Design Space allows, and it's still okay because I'm not ready to click make it yet anyway. What I'm going to do though is duplicate this file, and I am going to, so now I have 2 images on my screen. I have the original and I have a duplicate. I am going to hide one because I don't need to have both of them on the screen, but I don't want to have to upload it again in case I need to start over. So I'm just going to turn one of these off just by clicking that eye, and I still have one to work with. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is resize this image. I can do that by just dragging the arrow here at the bottom, or I can click in the width and just make the exact size that I want. And the width that I've decided that I want to use is 11.0. Now, depending on the size of the cardstock you're using, you might not be able to have that width. So you'll have to make a decision on that for yourself. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to ungroup this file. And I can see now that I have 7 individual layers and I can move them apart. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to just take that bottom layer and just move it all apart. This is the top. Maybe this is the top. Okay. Just going to separate all of these pieces out so that I can recolor them to match the cardstock that I've decided to use, the colors that I've decided to use. Okay. So now one thing that I love about the updates in Cricut Design Space is that I can change the name or rename the layers in my layers panel to match, to be a more accurate match of what's on my canvas. what I've decided to do for my layers is use my top layer right here. My top layer is actually going to be light red. It's going to be the colors that I showed you when I started in the intro. So I'm going to right click right here in my layers panel, and I'm going to rename this to light red. Okay, and then I'm going to click on the first layer, and I'm going to actually change it to light red. Now this is pink right here, and I'm just going to change it to pink just so I will be able to distinguish between my mats. This will make sense once we get to the prepare screen, but stay with me. So I'm going to just change it to pink, but it's really not pink, it's really light red. My next layer is going to be dark red. So I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to just choose this red right here, and I am going to change that to dark red in my layers panel. Okay, my next layer is going to be dark green. I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to change it to this dark green, and I'm going to rename my layer to dark green. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that light red, which looks pink, and I am going to go over here and rename it to light red, or we can just call it pink. The next layer is going to be dark red again. Okay, and I'm going to rename it dark red. Okay, the reason why I'm renaming over here is in case I ever want to make this exact mandala again, I'll remember, or I'll have a reference for the colors that I used and the order that I used them in. Okay, and so you don't have to do this part where I'm renaming in the layers panel. This is totally optional, and it is what is working best for me. Okay, so I'm going to click here, and I'm going to change the color of this to dark green. And I'm going to right click over here and change it to dark green. And then my last layer is actually gold. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to change that to gold. Okay, and I'm going to change the color to gold. And now what I'm going to do is just kind of put these on top and see how it's all going to look once it comes together. And I want to see if I really like it, or if there are any changes I need to make. Okay, and I'm just moving these out now. I could have just moved them all together, and but I'm doing it the way that I'm doing it. And I'm going to click align, and I'm going to center this. Okay, and even though that pink, in my opinion, is kind of throwing it off, I know that that is actually going to be red, and I think it's going to look amazing. Okay, so now let me make it bigger so you can kind of see it, because I don't know what device you're viewing this on, and I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, all right. So now this is what it will look like, except where you see pink here, mine is going to be red. Okay, so I am ready to click make it. Once I do, I should have 7 mats. I should have 1 gold, 2 green, 2 dark red, and 2 that will look like pink. Okay, so I would suggest at this point that you would save yours and save it whatever, name it whatever you want to name it. Click save. I am going to go ahead and click make it. Okay, so now hopefully this will make sense when you see it here. If I had chosen a light red, it would have been a little bit hard to distinguish between this dark red and a light red. And trust me, I know, because I tried it out before I actually pressed record. Okay, so I know that I need to prepare my mats in this order. And I know that I need to have 2 dark red mats, 2 for my light red, 1 for my gold, and 2 for my dark green. Okay, I am going to click continue. Okay, now that my Cricut Maker is connected, I am going to choose the cardstock for intricate cuts. I am going to make sure that my fine point blade is in good condition. So I am going to just use my aluminum foil little ball. I'm just going to stab it multiple times to make sure that it is clean and there is no debris, and that it is ready to cut all of this cardstock, because cutting cardstock can be brutal to your Cricut cutting machine. Okay, so I am going to get all of my cardstock loaded on the mats, and everything we'll do from here will be back on the camera. Now, when I was referring to the foil and the fine point blade, when you're cutting cardstock, it really just takes a lot of effort from your fine point blade. Now you can see my fine point blade is in good shape. I recently changed it out, but if you want to just clear off debris, some people call it sharpening, some people call it cleaning, call it what you call it. You just get some aluminum foil. This is just a regular ball of aluminum foil that I keep here in my craft room, and just poke some holes with it, and this will help get it ready to cut all this cardstock. Okay, leave me a comment below and let me know if you do this also. Okay. Now let's talk about what we have right here. I have my cardstock. This is 12 by 12 cardstock, and I have all 7 sheets on a different mat. I have my brayer right here. I'm going to go over each sheet with my brayer. And I also I'm using purple strong grip mats because in my opinion, this is a matter of personal preference. The cardstock sticks better to the purple mat. And once I get ready to lift it from the mat, it really weeds itself, in my opinion. You can use a light grip mat. You can use a standard grip mat. That is a matter of personal preference. For me, I like the purple mats. So I'm going to just go over these with my brayer and make sure they are securely on the mat. And then you'll see that I don't just use Cricut mats. I use whichever mats are the cheapest. So you are going to see Cricut mats. You're going to see Nakapa mats. And you will also probably see an HTV Ront mat. Leave a comment below and let me know what kind of mats you prefer. Which ones are your favorite, or do you only stick with Cricut products? All right, I have my 7 mats ready, and I have them in the exact order that they are going to be cut in from Cricut Design Space. The first mat that is going to be cut is dark red. So I'm going to get it loaded. And I am going to I've chosen cardstock for intricate cuts. I have all of my cardstock cut out. I have my spatula because that's going to help me get all of the cardstock off the mat. You definitely don't want to leave it overnight. It'll just mess up your mat. The reason why I cut mine on that setting, like I said, is because really the mat does the weeding, and I can just take away the other pieces that are left. So let me get all of the cardstock removed from the mat. Let me show you what this is going to look like. So I still have all of this cardstock left that I can use for another project. Look at that. You see that? And I just have to clean that up. This is the part or the sheet that's considered as pink. I'm just going to take my weeding tool and carefully pick up the other pieces. Now you will have to be careful about this because you can rip your paper by doing it this way. You are taking a chance, but I'd rather take a chance than weed out a million pieces of cardstock. I have all of my layers of the mandala right here, and I have a scrap piece of the cardstock that it was cut from. What I'm going to use this for, and I also have a paintbrush and I have my glue. I'm going to pour some of this glue on the scrap piece, and I will use this paintbrush to apply the glue to the layers as needed. Now what you cannot see is that I have the design pulled up in Cricut Design Space, so I'll know which layer goes next and next and next. I don't know. But I'm going to start from the bottom layer first and work my way up. I don't love it. I'm not loving it. Let me see. I'm back. Okay, so midway through the tutorial, I realized this color was not going to do it for me. I just could not continue with that color. These two, they just look pink, and I tried it in different lighting and it just wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. So I decided to switch this pink out for this gold, and I decided to switch this pink for this green. So what am I going to say? I love it. I love it. And if you found any of this helpful, please consider liking the video, subscribing to my channel, and turning on the bell for notifications because I do upload new content every single week. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thanks for watching. Bye.